All right, let's make a formal introduction for our listeners. Good afternoon, Eivør. My name is Claudio, and I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the studios in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Eivør Pálsdóttir accepted our invitation to our show. Eivør, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. Let's go back to the beginning of your life. Where are you born? A musical family? How old were you when you perhaps began taking, I don't know, guitar lesson or piano lesson, like most of the kids do when they're 5 or 6?
Yeah, I mean, I'm born in a very small village in the Faroe Islands called Gøta. And my family, there are no like musicians in my family, but both my parents have always had this big love for music and art, all kinds of art in general. So I grew up with a lot of music around me, and we would sing together a lot at home and stuff. And I think that's where my passion for music kind of started. And my mom gave me a guitar when I was about 11 years old.
Yeah.
And that's when I started playing guitar.
What about your voice, though? I mean, your parents probably noticed that you were singing everywhere, walking down the street, singing on the television, that kind of stuff. And so they have, man, this young lady has a voice, or nobody figured that out until later on in life?
No, I think in my family, I mean, my family knew that I loved to sing, and I would sing all day long, and at family events, they would Eivør, sing a song for us, and I would just sing a song acapella, and that's kind of how it all started for me. I would sing a lot, and then later on, I started to take lessons, and I was singing in a few different choirs also in the villages around me, and so I've just been singing ever since I can remember, I think.
And then you knew back then that you wanted to be a musician, or?
Yeah, I mean, very early on, because I had this insane passion for music and for singing, almost obsession. And I just knew that like when I was a teenager, I said, I'm gonna be a musician, I'm gonna be a singer, and that was like my biggest dream in the world. So I never stopped chasing it, I guess.
Got it. Were you, like, when you were in equivalent of high school, I don't know, 15 to 18 years old, were you in any band at all, or you wanted to do by yourself?
I was in a few bands, actually, in my teenage years while I was in school and stuff. I was in a rock band called Clickcase, and I think that's probably the band that has had most impact on me, because I was, of course, the youngest in the band. They were all like 10 years older than I was, most of them.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And they also had this insane passion for music, and music was not, at the time in the Faroe Islands, I think music was more like something you would play in a dance, or people would go out and hear music and dance. But we started this band where we wanted people to listen to the music. It was about the feelings and the moods and the emotions. And I remember that many people thought that I was a bit strange. But eventually it became a really popular band in the Faroe Islands, this band that I play with. And I started playing also in jazz clubs. I started getting into jazz music when I was 16, and I played as many concerts and gigs as I could, like almost every night, every weekend at least. So yeah, it was like a beautiful community of musicians that I stepped into somehow.
Were you, at the time, you were living at home, right? Although you were getting paid to play, I suppose, right? And during the week.
I remember we had this hat that we put around, and that was my fee.
Okay,
like the old school way,
the old
when
school,
you play in a jazz club, you have this hat, that you just send out and people can donate money. I think that was my fee. I still lived with my parents at that time. And but when I was around 17, I actually moved to Iceland to study classical singing.
Yeah. What your parents thought about that? Or was your
They
choice?
were like,
freaking out?
I mean, I was so obsessed about it. So I think they didn't even want to argue about it because they knew it was what I had to do. So they supported me in that. I'm very grateful for that.
How difficult was it at the beginning living in Iceland? So
it was amazing. For me, it was because I grew up in this tiny village, and coming to Reykjavik, Iceland, was like almost like coming home, but it was just bigger, more possibilities. Yes, because I mean, Iceland and Faroe Islands have a lot of similarities in a way, and the same kind of humor and the same kind of landscape. So I kind of felt good there, and I had a great teacher, opera singer from Iceland, who became almost like my stepmom in Iceland, and we're still really good friends. I still go to her when I go to Iceland.
Really?
And she says, "Hey, let's do some scales." She'll say, "Hey, better fix that."
Yeah, Iceland is a beautiful country, and of course I knew Sigur Rós and many other bands from that. But the nature and the volcanoes and the water and the ocean is beautiful, man. It's
it's an incredible place. And so much great music comes from Iceland as well. You know, it's I lived there for 5 years or so.
All right. So you knew that you want to be to make music your profession and singing. And I think early in life you ended up releasing when you were 16 your first album. That's correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So that would have been in the Faroe Islands, no in Iceland.
No, that was like just before I moved to Iceland, the year before or so. Yeah.
How were you able to do it? I mean, you went to a studio, somebody helped you out. What was the process? Because you were young, not enough money, and how were able to record that?
Yeah, it blows my mind today to think about. Like, I have no idea how I managed to do that, but because it costs a lot of money to record an album. But I had collected, saved up some money, and I remember I worked in a fish factory in the summers just to save money for this album. And I applied for some funding, and I got a little bit of funding from my village. And so, I managed to gather the money I needed to go to a studio, and we went to Denmark to record my first album because we didn't really have any proper studios in the Faroe Islands back then. So we had to go to Denmark, and I gathered a band, and we rehearsed for like a long time. I think probably 2 months just in the studio rehearsing the songs. And we recorded the album the old school way, on tape and live from the studio here in Copenhagen. And that was my first album.
And how did it go with that album? I mean, were people that was before Iceland. So in Denmark or in your own country, they were receptive to that particular album? Were the music played on radio station, that sort of things?
Well, I think that album was my first trademark in the Faroe Islands. I think people received it very well. At the time, I was very inspired by my Faroese roots and my Faroese traditional music, which is very based on acapella singing and old sagas and stuff, Nordic mythology, and all these things were great inspirations for me for that album. And I think people received it well. and they came to hear my concerts, and it was kind of the beginning for me.
Yeah, and then so you moved to Iceland to school. You began to work with some professor, and then how many years after that you end up recording your second album, and then how difficult was it, or was it easier at the time?
So when I moved to Iceland, I studied vocal techniques and stuff for a few years, and I think it was 2 years later that I had met musicians from Iceland, which I had started playing with, and I had written new songs, and we went to a studio and recorded my second album, which is called Krakkan. And that album was recorded with Icelandic musicians in Iceland.
Yeah.
I think that was probably about 2 years later, yeah.
And then was the music played on radio? You began touring a little bit when you were in Iceland, or you were?
Yeah, I actually won a few awards for that album in Iceland, like best album of the year and stuff. And so the Icelandic people kind of welcomed me in a way as their own, which was incredible for me as a musician and as a visitor in a new place. And it was all sung in Faroese, but I think Icelanders can kind of understand Faroese in some ways, so they could relate to the album that way, I guess. And it gave me a little bit more opportunities to kind of come a little bit outside the Faroe Islands and represent my music.
Good for you. How many languages do you speak? A lot. Like 5.
Well, a few. I mean, I speak Faroese, Icelandic, and Danish, Scandinavian, like I understand Scandinavian, and then English. So
good for you. Speak very well.
Thank you.
All right. So, man, when you received those awards in Iceland, I imagine that your parents were very, very happy and say, man, she's doing it, she's making it, she's happy. And
yeah, they were very proud. They were, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you feel that, and eventually, I think you end up getting married with your Faroese composer, a long-time collaborator, Trondur Bogason, right?
Yes.
The love of your life.
Yes, for sure.
Right. So he was a musician as well, and you met him where he was in the Faroe Islands, well, or in Iceland, or?
Yeah, I met him many years later. We met when I was recording one of my albums.
Yeah.
And I knew of him. We had met each other many times, but because he was a fellow musician, and we all know each other in a way in the Faroe Islands, but we're not that many. Yeah, we're not that many people. So, well, and then we worked together on the arrangements that he did for me, for the string arrangements and choir arrangements. And that's how we met. That's how I really got to know him. Yeah.
Good for you. I have seen some of the videos, the recent video, the arrangement and the music and the lights and the sound, they're very, very well done. Very well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I mean, some of the videos have been seen by, I don't know, 500,000 people or something, or even more. It's a long process to create. I mean, it's important for you to create a good video and good lights and.
I mean, I think of it all as a whole package. Like when
that's right.
It's a long process. You write a song. It starts with a small idea that you then open up, unwrap, and form into what you need it to be. And then when you're done with creating the music, I feel that everything around it should speak the same language or like be in the same vibe. So and maybe make the mood of the song even stronger and clear. So when I do my artworks and videos, I think about these things a lot. I need them to reflect the song and the mood of the song as well as possible.
Good for you. And only so you end up receiving also, you won 3 awards, the Faroese Music Award, first best female singer, best artist, and the best album of the year, right? That's a big deal, right? So not only were you, it's important to be recognized, I think, in your own country, right? So a lot of
that's true.
Our countries give you award, but be recognized for your own family, your own people, your own roots. It's meaningful, right? So
it is. It really is, and it kind of, especially like, it gives you some kind of acceptance or something in your home country. That kind of creates a strong fundament for you to continue in a way, I guess.
Yeah, and I think you end up. I think you covered then Bilda, and then receive a lot of TV, press, and exposure as well, right? So it opened more doors for you as well, right?
Yeah, with the film music.
Yeah.
Yes. 8 years ago, I was contacted by a composer in London who is named John Lunn, and he worked on a score for a TV series called The Last Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which has been running on Netflix for a few years now, and he asked me to collaborate with him, and that was like a whole new chapter for me. I'd never written movie scores or music for TV before, so that was both very inspiring for me as an artist, but it also opened new doors for sure.
And then writing your own music versus touring versus writing a composition for a film, it's a difference because were you preparing the time of they show you the movie, you work from the script, or you work for kind of final scene and a director cut or the first draft? How you went about singing and composing for that particular film?
It was like a collaboration between us where John would send me like a mood sometimes, like a sonic mood, like a chord progression and some sounds, and then he would say to me like, this scene needs more emotion, we need and then he would tell me the story, and I would see the scene of the movie, and then he gave me all this freedom to do whatever I thought would fit, and that was fun because I had all this freedom to be creative and explore different textures of the voice and emotions. So that's how we worked. Sometimes I would send him something a cappella, and he would make use of it in some ways, but mostly we worked like this.
Weird. So imagine that opened different set of doors for you to open, for new opportunities in the film industry and composing for films and stuff like that. That's another skill set. Good for you. How you, in terms of your voice is your instrument in many ways, and any specific vocalization techniques that you learn on this project? I mean, how difficult it is for you to having an idea, your husband helping you in the background with some electronic beats or some electronic music, and for you to, for your voice to be meaningful, and then what's the process for you to?
When I write my songs?
Yeah, and in terms of vocalization techniques, how for someone that is not a musician, what's the process?
Yeah, I guess it's two different things because my vocal technique and stuff is something I've worked on my whole life in a way. So it's been a long journey, and I'm always learning something new still. I'm trying to stay I'm curious still about my vocals and techniques, and I'm always trying to get better at what I do. And I very much see the voice as an instrument, and it has no limits, really. You just have to work on it like an athlete. You have to keep it soft and stretchy. And and when I work on things, I think about the voice like an instrument as well. Like, what does this song need? What sound? What spectrum of my voice should I work on in this song? And
So when you are not touring, do you work with other professors or you kind of do vocalization at home before you go on tour? It's like on a day-to-day basis, or just resting your voice is good enough?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, rest is so important for a singer, I guess. It's yeah. So when I tour a lot, I don't practice so much because there's such good practice in singing live every night. But if I have a long break from touring, I'll definitely do some scales and rehearse a little bit every now and then.
Good for you. Go to visit your old friend at.
I do. I go visit my friend in Iceland, and she
complains.
Complains.
You're not doing this. You should be doing this. That's what teachers do, right? So
yeah, that's what teachers are supposed to do. So that's good,
right? So if it's your friend, she wouldn't tell it, but if it's your teacher and your friend, she will tell you
exactly.
Exactly. I was noting that in your YouTube channel and in Facebook, you have a lot of subscribers, a lot of videos. Those videos are very popular. Good for you. Good for you.
Oh, that's great.
Probably you don't notice that kind of stuff, but it's.
I don't go there a lot to check how it's going, but as I have understood, the past few years it's been growing, and I'm so grateful. I love all my visitors in there. Really grateful.
Good for you. Before we talk about the new album, you were here you were touring here in the US recently, right? You were in DC, you went to Red Rocks. Feel free to elaborate on that. Was that the first time you have been performing in the US, or you were here before?
I've been there a few times before. I did a tour. Was it last year? Yeah, I did my first little tour last year, and but mostly I've been doing one-off shows, and I've done some really crazy shows. I played at the Hollywood Bowl, like in LA, for a gaming concert.
Gotcha.
And I've done fun gigs in the US recently, and so I just start with the big ones, right? Hollywood Bowl and Red Rocks, which is quite insane. But I really enjoy playing in America, and I'll be back next year with a tour in America. And I enjoy the American crowds. They're very expressive and outgoing. I enjoy that. Very different from us here in Scandinavia.
Really? They are not very expressive. They're quiet. And
I think Scandinavians are a bit more introverted.
Introvert? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. How was the gig in DC? I think people went crazy here.
I enjoyed it so much. It was such an amazing audience, and they were very, very welcoming, which was very heartwarming. It was a beautiful experience.
Great. Good for you. I was listening to a new album. How you pronounce ENN is correct? To be N with two N's, which is going to be released in June 2024. It's very good album. It's an amazing album. It's very good. And I have listened to a lot of music. Yeah. I listen to a lot of
Yeah, I
music.
can see behind you. You have all those vinyls going on there.
And I have there and fourth floor upstairs. My wife complained, but that's okay. Music is an important part of my life, so I listen to a lot of music, and the new album is very, very good. There's a couple of tracks in particular, and I think you guys end up releasing one or two videos from that album, or only one.
Yeah, we have released 2 videos so far.
Yeah, they are very good, and a lot of people are seeing that.
That's good to hear.
And they're very well done. I mean, I know you are detail oriented and you put a lot of attention, that kind of stuff, and that's beautiful. So tell me about how was the process for writing that particular album? I mean, you end up finishing the album before you were on tour, right? Before you came to the United States to play,
yes,
right?
I finished it. Before these concerts. Yeah, I finished it half year ago or so, and it was I think I spent like 2.5 years working on this album actually. And the process was interesting, like any creative process, it's a pleasure and it's also painful sometimes, because as an artist you dig so deep within yourself when you create something,
places,
and
right?
you have to visit all the and then but all in all, it was a very inspiring process for me, because with this album I feel like I'm very much going back to my roots in this album, going back to like where I'm from, and both the landscapes and the sound and the moods of where I'm from. And at the same time, it's also very nuanced, maybe probably the most nuanced album I have made. And it's also quite experimental. It has a lot of the elements that I have explored on my journey. Like, it has the classical textures to it, with the more operatic singing styles that I have explored a lot in my life.
Yeah.
And it also has the more folky, traditional sounding vocals, and many layers in between. So I feel this album kind of collects elements from my journey so far, which is
If you don't mind asking, why 2.5 years? Easy for me to say. I don't know how to.
What?
Why 2.5 years? Why it took so long? It's easy for me to say because I'm not a musician, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why it takes so long, but I think for me, I often have to live with a song and with a production for a while, and kind of to realize whether I'm still interested in it or not, or whether it makes me curious. And when I know it makes me curious, I know it's the right way. If it bores me, I know it's something I've done before, then I lose interest in it. So I have to kind of live with it for a little bit, and then I know where to go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And in between, you need to make money. So you were touring and other stuff, right? So
yeah, I mean, I've been touring a lot the past 3 years. So yeah, it's also a question of time.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. So where that album was recorded, and it was in your country, or
yeah, most of it was recorded in the Faroe Islands, actually, in my studio, and there's also a bigger studio where I recorded my band, because I wanted to include some live elements where the band kind of plays together to get that into the songs, the organic elements. And I wrote most of the songs also in the Faroe Islands. I went to this very tiny village, which is quite isolated from the rest of the islands. And that's where I wrote most of the songs. Yeah.
In your own language or in English?
Yes. It all started. I felt like I've always felt with languages that languages are like instruments. So
that's right. Yeah.
they have their own sound. And for this album, I just felt all the way through that it needed to be in Faroese. I felt that that's the instrument we're using on this album.
I got you.
Yeah.
And people, they don't need to understand the language to listen to good music and understand the quality of the product and so on and so forth. Because as you say, there's a voice and many layers in between, up and down. So people may not understand. I don't understand your language, but they can see the whole
And
the end product, right? So.
And music is like, to me, it's such a universal language on its own.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I listen to a lot of music with languages I don't understand. So I think if you have an open mind, you will understand, or maybe even make your own interpretation of it all, although you don't speak the language.
Right. And then you end up working with different poets as well in this particular band?
I've worked with one poet called Marion, who is one of my favorite poets in the Faroe Islands, and we have collaborated a lot on music. So we've worked on several side projects together also. And for this album, I had a long brainstorm on each song, what I felt that they were about, and I had written like certain words and verses here and there. And then I love to collaborate with people because I feel it often takes you to a place where you wouldn't go on your own. And so I had a great collaboration with her on the poems, yes.
Yeah.
And then me and Tröntur, my husband, we produced the album together.
Yeah, it's very well done. I think it's an unbelievable. If you have, looking back in your life, you have played in a lot of places. Any particular place that you like to play, or any particular person that you like to work with, as you know, being a collaborator, or being part of an album, or being part of a tour. Any people that you do to come to mind that you would like to work with, or?
Oh, in the future?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been blessed to work with great musicians in my life, and you learn so much from each other. If I would choose, collaborate. I haven't thought about this. This is an interesting question. But I guess there are many artists that I would love to collaborate with. We talked about Hans Zimmer. I mean, that would be incredible to work with him one day. And then, what other bands? I always wanted to work with a band called Massive Attack.
Yeah.
That would be a dream come true for me to work with them. Yeah, I don't know. I have to think
before
about
you know it, you are going to be working with Lisa Gerard.
Let's see. Oh, that would be cool.
I will make it happen. Yeah. Massive Attack is a great band. There are many great bands out there.
I mean, you know so much music, so maybe you send me a list.
Do you like Sigur Rós?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to be interviewed. I'm seeing them in September here. They play in DC, and I'm going to interview them in a couple of weeks. They're very good.
They are one of my favorite bands in the world.
Yeah, they are very.
Yeah.
That music it's very melancholic, though. I mean,
it is.
You need to have, your head need to be.
Yeah, you have to be in a certain
absorb the movie.
mindset.
You are right.
Yes,
that's right.
Exactly.
The mindset, that's the correct word to play with. You're going to be touring in the fall. I think you begin. You're going to London, right? So Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
May 10th.
Playing there.
And then May 11th.
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
I'm super excited to go there. I've never played there before. So
you know the history of that place, right? It's unbelievable.
It's insane.
The best of the best have played there. So you are one of the best.
Let's say that. Let's pretend. Well, thank you. It's very kind of you. But I'm super excited to play a show there next week already. And I'm going home to the Faroe Islands on Monday to rehearse with my band, and then we're going to London.
Yeah, and then you're going back France, Denmark, and Bulgaria, and places like that. Any particular any particular venue that beside the Red Rocks? Everybody want to play the Red Rocks, but outside Europe, any particular venue here in the United States that you were overwhelmed and you say, man, this is a beautiful place. Everything went great. Everything worked, and so forth. So.
I mean, Washington was incredible as well. That venue was beautiful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. I mean, there are so many beautiful venues in America, and venues that I haven't played yet that I will play next year. And I'm extremely excited to go on tour there again and experience more of it, for sure. And I guess like venues, for me, they don't even have to be huge and big to be amazing. It can also just be the mood of a venue. And of course, the audience is everything. So, I mean, the audience creates the magic for me. So, I mean,
You need to come to DC though, again.
Yeah, I would love that.
To Washington. When the tour in the United States going to happen? Is during the summer, next summer, or during
it's early next year, actually.
So March type of thing, yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, and I don't think I'm allowed to really reveal the dates yet. But I know
around that.
I know it's early, like in the spring. Yeah,
I got you. The spring. Good for you. And as I said before, I listened to all the album last night, and there is one track, I think track number 5, which is the title of the album, ENN, which is like 7 minutes long. And the first
I tend to write really long songs.
Yeah,
I tend to write long songs.
Yeah, I noticed, but it's
not radio. It's not radio friendly.
No, but you need to do what you like, and you need to do what you're happy with, right? If on the other hand, people can listen to your music or playing radio, but it's great, I suppose. Right? You are very popular here in the US. Actually, I was reading a comment from. You're very humble, right? So you quite sure if you do 10 gigs next year here or 15. They're going to be sold out, each one of them, right?
You think so? Oh my goodness.
Huh.
That would blow my mind, though. Let's see.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, I hope to see you. It was very nice talking to you. Good luck with the new album.
To see you. Thank you.
It's going to be released in June. You're going to begin touring on very soon, actually, May the 10th.
Oh yeah, my tour comes up in the fall, but that's my European tour, and I'm also going to Australia actually for the first time, which is exciting. Yeah.
Good for you. And do you know if you next year you're going to be touring by yourself, or you're touring with another band?
It's my headline tours, yeah.
Headline
tours. Will be my own tours, and the same now in the fall. I'm going on a headline tour in Europe and bringing my own band with me. So
yeah, good for you. Excellent. Very happy. It was very nice talking to you. Good luck, and you will hear from me, because I will put you in touch with some people for you to record and be a participant in with other great musicians. That you're very talented. You're very humble, talented, and you're very good at what you do. So
thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak to you. And enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.